Good afternoon. We're here at the Hudson Fire Department today, and we're talking to Fire Chief Drew Spielman, and he's going to show us a new fire rig that the Hudson Fire Department acquired.
Yep, absolutely. So we took delivery of this engine back in July 2024, this past summer. It replaced an Apparatus that was a 2005 vintage. The cost of this was $860,000.
That's a bargain.
It is, because right now you're probably
get.
looking at over $1 million for this in today's change in economy. So it was built by Custom Fire Apparatus out of Osceola. So the nice thing about that is we have a local vendor, local employer, that all the money or all the
jobs stay right here.
Right in the community, right? It's all
Wonderful.
in the area. And ironically enough, the owner of the company actually lives in the city of Hudson.
That's awesome.
It is, absolutely. So
let's take a look at some of the apparatus and equipment.
Sure. Here we have our hose lines, what we call cross lays. These would be the first lines we would pull out of fire, whether it's a car fire or structure fire. Everything on this is built low, so the guys don't have to jump up and down to get things. They can just grab them right off the ground and go to work.
What water capacity does this truck have?
Yeah, so this has a 750-gallon water tank, 50-gallon Class A foam tank.
Okay.
So if you figure you take 750 1-gallon milk jugs, that's what this truck carries.
And then you'll have pumpers also that'll help refill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if it's in the city, we connect to a fire hydrant.
Oh, sure.
And in the rural, we would haul our water out there with tenders.
Right.
Yep. So just kind of what we consider our engineer driver's compartment. It's got short sections of hose for connecting to the fire hydrant, our extra nozzles if we need them, and different appliances that a driver may need to connect hose lines. And in here is a cooler. It's just full of water. So we have cold water on scene. So when the guys come
for
out,
the firefighters.
For the firefighters, we carry our own drinking water.
Terrific.
Yep, for sure. This is kind of a catch-all compartment here. We have our toolboxes here. We have our sprinkler shut-offs in here. So we have a sprinkler that gets knocked off. We have our bark bag. So if we rescue pets or dogs out of a fire, we have the ability to do resuscitation on them. Lockout, tag-out kits if we're doing some elevator work or working on machines.
Yeah, the electronics.
Yep. We gotta lock everything out before we go to work. So
you don't want water near the electronics.
No. So everything, all of our miscellaneous stuff is kind of in this compartment here. Coming back a little further, bunch of hand tools. So obviously the different types of calls we go to and the different things we do.
Sure.
We just have to have different tools do the work.
Yeah, shovels, axes, picks.
Yep.
Anything
absolutely,
you need right
for
here.
sure. On the back of the apparatus, I talked about the fire hydrants. So we carry 900 feet of supply hose. That's 5-inch supply hose that connects the fire hydrants. That then we hook into the engine, supplies our water. Our bigger hose lines, so we looked at the cross lays. Those are kind of for your basic residential structure fire. If we get anything larger, we go to the bigger hose lines to get more water out of them. Up here, and we have 800 feet of that with 2.5-inch hose. For rural operations, we have hard suction hose that we would pull out, and our tenders carry big tanks.
Sure.
And we dump a load of water into them, and then we hook this hose up to here, and then we suck the water out of the tanks into the truck. So we can do city firefighting and rural firefighting with our engine.
Drew, how many firefighters are normally assigned to this rig on a call?
5.
5
There's
people.
5 seats.
Okay.
There's five people can respond on the engine.
Terrific.
All our ladders. Coming over here are what we consider high-rise or hotel packs. So anything above the 3rd floor, the hoses on the engine aren't going to reach. Most everything in Hudson above the 3rd floor has a standpipe system.
Sure.
So we would connect to the standpipes in the buildings, and these are the hose packs that we would take up for that.
Sure. Now this, you may have said this is a 2024
Yes.
vehicle?
Yes. Yep. Extra air pack and tools in case the driver needs it.
And now the serious.
And then all the ventilation stuff here. So we have our saws with metal cutting blades on it if we need, or I guess all-purpose blades if we need to cut through metal, steel, shingles, wood, whatever, and our chainsaws for cutting roofs. And then our fan for ventilation. Once the fire's knocked out, we can ventilate the buildings. Same cross lays we saw before, so they can go either direction on the engine.
Right.
So no matter how you pull up, you can always pull them off going towards the fire.
Yeah, do you ever use both for any reasons?
Yep. Every structure fire gets what we call a primary attack line, and it gets a backup line.
Okay.
So there's always 2 hoses that go into a burning building.
Terrific. Well, let's step up and take a look at the walkway here and some of the equipment that we have. Drew, can you explain to us what all the color coding is on the equipment here?
Yep, so this is our operator's panel, or our pump panel. So to get water to go to all the different hoses, there's a bunch of valves inside the pump down below here. And each one of these is color coded. So we saw the red and yellow hoses, be the red hose, the yellow hose. And then everything else is color coded by discharge throughout the rig. This is where the operator would operate at the fire. We have the throttle for bringing pressures up. Gauges to watch water levels, foam levels from what's coming into the truck, everything to open up our hydrant intakes. So really, it takes a lot to be a driver.
Right. Is the driver generally the operator here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So his job, after getting to the incident scene, if he has to pump, this is where he comes up to do the pumping.
So you got one technical guy and 4 guys that are really working their butts off outside.
But depending on how much he has to pump, this is very technical too.
I imagine it is.
Because each hose line is pumped at a different pressure. So math, you have to know a lot of math.
Sure.
And decide if you have capacity to supply more water to hose lines. So we normally don't even let anybody think about driving until they're on for about 5 years.
Wow.
Then they have to go back to school and take driver operator class. And then when they get done with that through the state, then we also have an in-house driver program that we run them through. So.
Well, when minutes mean the difference of a total loss or a recovery, that's pretty important.
And just like anything, you probably wouldn't let your teenager drive your $860,000 car without any training. So we make sure that they know what they're doing.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So.
All right, we're in the new rig here with Fire Chief Drew Spielman, and we'd have the driver in front along with the communications officer.
The officer,
and the firefighters will be in the back, and there's an awful lot of equipment and apparatus in the back here. Drew, explain a little bit about what the firefighters would do here.
Yep. So these are the people that do the work on the scene, like you mentioned. So our officer sits up front. He's in charge of the crew. He's in charge of everything that happens. He gives the orders. The firefighters back here know their assignments depending on what type of call they're going to. Back here is when they're geared up on the way to a fire. The air packs are in the seats, and they can get dressed, put their air packs on. Once the truck gets to the scene, they can get out and then go to work.
Right.
Everything's ready to go.
You've got headsets for everybody. Again, the officer's going to be communicating while they're traveling.
Yep.
The reason for the headsets, I assume, is the sirens are going to be so loud.
Yes.
And noisy that's a must.
Yep, with the sirens and the motor being right here, it's loud, and it's clear communications with the officer and the crew. He's giving them updates, what dispatch is telling them, where the hydrant's going to be that they have to hook, stuff like that. It gives out an assignment. So that it's critical to have the headset so everybody can hear what's going on.
Well, and there's plenty of room, it looks like here, but when you get 3 full-grown firemen in full gear. I guess it's still pretty tight.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So, well, let's climb into the front and take a look at what's up there.
Absolutely.
Now we're in the business end of the new rig here. So, Drew, you're sitting in the driver's seat. Obviously, very complicated for the officer and the driver. So, maybe just recap the duties of each.
Yeah. So, the driver's responsibility is to safely get the crew to the scene. Their big thing is safely operating the apparatus, watching the road. We all know how everybody drives nowadays, not always the best, right? So he has a lot of stress just getting the apparatus to the scene. The officer on the other side, he has a thermal imaging camera that he'll grab when he gets out. He has the iPad in front of him that has the mapping that gets us to the call. GPS mapping. All our pre-plans for different businesses are on there, so we can look up where fire alarms are and fire department connections and everything like that on the way to the call. So
do you have
well prepared.
What kind of connections might you have, like with the hospital, in case of physical emergencies or anything coming out of a fire?
We don't do any of that. That's all done through Lakeview EMS.
Okay. So
we don't have any contact with them. We do have our mobile radio in here. That's how we talk to dispatch, and that's how they talk to us.
Now the duty of the driver, again, after he gets to the site, he then goes back to where we were with all the mechanicals to handle all the technical equipment.
All the valves and all the gauges and everything. Yep.
Drew, that was an impressive tour of the truck here. It's awfully good to see that Hudson's always staying with state-of-the-art equipment to help its residents.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about how many calls, for instance, a month are you at, and give us some numbers and metrics.
Yeah, so we're right now we're averaging about 45 to 50 calls a month. So as of today, we just had our 565th call for the year.
Wow.
We're 22 calls ahead of last year at this point. So we're probably going to eclipse our record last year, which was 619.
Yeah.
We should be well over 620, 630.
That's incredible. So when you talk about 630 calls in a year, and if you have your 2 or 3 or 4 trucks out, what happens? If another call comes in, how do we react?
Yeah, so depending on how long the call is going to last, we always start to think about how we're going to handle that. And through mutual aid agreements, reciprocal agreements, we would have another fire department come in here and sit.
Okay, terrific. Now, there's no costs exchange.
No.
It's understood it's a reciprocal agreement.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure appreciated by all the departments.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everybody in the area works very well together, and that's the nice thing, is we always have each other's backs, and nobody has an issue going someplace else and helping out.
Now, last year we did a tour of the whole department, and you gave me some of the figures. I'd like to know again, maybe for the residents out there. What are we doing for staffing? Give me an update on what you have for a staff here at HFD.
Yeah, so right now there's only 2 of us that are full-time, myself and our fire inspector.
Mr. Peruka?
Mr. Peruka, yep, and our administrative assistant. And
Terrific.
then we're supplemented by 43 paid-on-call volunteers.
That's unbelievable. 660 some potential calls.
Yep.
3 full-time, 3 staff.
Right. Yep.
3 paid staff, and the
Absolutely.
rest volunteers.
Yeah, yeah. It's starting to become a little burdensome, with having paid-on-call volunteer staff. It's a lot
Yeah.
of calls for volunteer staff.
Yeah.
And same thing with our fire inspector. As the communities continue to grow, our fire inspections go up. So
Yeah.
we're performing about 1,200 fire inspections a year.
Yeah, I know I've talked to Mike before. He used to inspect catalysts, my
Sure.
old business, and
Yeah.
I was just amazed at the number of inspections he's required to do per year. That's really amazing.
Yeah, and again, it's not just the city of Hudson. It's the village,
Right.
the town of Hudson, the town of Troy too. So.
Right. Now, in addition to the city of Hudson, tell me a little bit about the breakdown of who else is being served and helped, and maybe a little bit about how the financial split goes
Sure.
with that.
Yep. So our budget. So we're provide contractual services for the town of Hudson, about 1/3 of the town of Troy,
Okay.
and the village of North Hudson.
Okay.
So our budget is made up about 60% of the city pays for it, and 40% from the other communities, and that's broke out over equalized value and the amount of calls the 5 previous years.
Sure.
It's
So
all
it's
averaged
based
out.
on history.
It's based on history.
Yeah.
So
So,
you
everybody's
basically-
being treated fairly when it
Yes.
comes to the operational
Yep.
costs.
Yep, for sure.
How about St. Joe? How do they fit in with you, or helping, or whatever? Any interactions with St. Joe
We
Township?
do. We actually use them on auto aid for the village.
Okay.
So if we have a structure fire in the village, they're dispatched simultaneously with us to go to that call. Same thing in the town of Hudson. The Roberts Fire Department is dispatched on auto aid for any structure fire within the town of
Yeah.
Hudson.
The level of cooperation between all the townships, I think, is to be commended.
It is, absolutely. Yep. Yep. Everybody works very well together.
Terrific. Then give a little recap, if you could, on the width, breadth, and depth of equipment
Sure.
that you have here,
Yep.
because I'm standing here and just amazed at not only the number of pieces, but the shape they're all in. You guys
Yeah.
do a great job keeping things top shape.
Yes. Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I mean, we've always had very supportive communities that have always supported us getting updated, new, modern equipment. And everything we have is for the community we serve. So we have two engines, 2 pumper trucks. We have an aerial ladder, 100-foot ladder truck. We have a squad, a squad carries some of our hazmat equipment, vehicle extrication equipment.
Right.
And then to supplement that, we have a rescue truck, which brings more equipment for the technical rescue type things.
Now you also have aquatic or water
Yep,
equipment.
We have a couple boats, a couple brush trucks, water tenders that haul water. And then we also have a dive team as part
Right.
of our department. We have a
Right.
rope rescue team.
An employee of mine was one of the volunteer dive guys years ago.
Yep.
So,
So we do a diverse service to the communities. We have a lot of
Unbelievable.
resources available.
is there any talk with the city council and the surrounding townships of maybe changing to more full-time on-staff people? I don't understand the politics
Sure.
of how that
Yep.
works, but
Yep.
is there any discussions where that might improve?
There is, yep. So we've already started those talks with the city. I've already had those discussions with our administrator. I think we're looking at 3 to 5 years
Yeah.
before we would probably start.
Well,
to
and I would
implement.
assume there's a sweet spot between number of calls
Yep.
versus number of staff and
Yeah,
how you're going to
there is,
maintain
There
that.
is, yep. So the nice thing is in our 2025 budget, we're able to secure another fire inspector position.
Terrific.
So starting in July, we'll have another fire inspector on staff.
So Mike will
which-
end up seeing his wife and his
maybe once in a
family
while.
little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's gonna be the big thing.
Yeah.
Just because of all the community outreach and risk reduction that we do, we just need the people. So
Yeah, terrific. Well, it's been great being here and getting a tour of the new equipment here at the Hudson Fire Department. I want to thank Drew Spielman.
Yep.
So
Thank
thanks
you.
for showing us everything here. And on behalf of Nate Skoog, the famous Nate Skoog and River Channel, thanks for being here.